Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Hello, my fellow hoopheads, and welcome to One and Done, your fast break for college basketball information powered by drroto.com. I am your always humble host, Chris Napier, a.k.a. Nate C. Hustle. It feels great to be back in the host seat after a short break, short hiatus, but I feel right at home with my broskies in basketball here. Tons of news to go over. I'm so pumped to get right into the show. But first, he is the captain of the Green Screens Media Ship. Find him on X at MCHolland34. Mr. Mike Holland. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, I'm excited you're back. We got our guy, Mr. Heinrich over here that you're going to introduce in just a second. He's back. So, man, my night's going good. Boston's up 2-0. So I'm feeling good about all the mess I've been talking. Hopefully they can follow through with a 4-1 victory in the NBA Finals. Also, there's an update on that top 500 transfer portal big board that me and your boy Nate C. Hustle have been working on. We got some other stuff in the mix. This guy has been grinding it out. We're going to have a ton of information for you guys this offseason. So we're so happy to have him on here. But, yeah, man, I'm ready to talk about we've been doing head coaching interviews, but I'm ready to talk about some transfer portal, and I think there's some other news that's really captured the headlines around the country right now for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That top 500 transfer big board out at drroto.com. We put a lot of work into that, and as he said, we got a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes. We have both been on the grind, but as he said, somebody else to introduce here. He is our conductor of the Green Screens Media Train. Find him on X at Dr. William Cannon, where he will follow you back. Mr. J. Heinrich, what it do?
What it do, baby? Nate C. Hustle in the hizzy. What's up? Good to be back in the house with everybody. And our guy, Dan Hurley, said, well, I'm not going to announce what I'm doing until Monday at the earliest. So you know what I did this weekend, y'all? I decided I was going to relax all weekend long. Saturday morning, went out to Butler Pitch and Putt. Hole number one, right there. Everybody waiting to play. 17 people in line, waiting to, get up there in the tee box. Number one, watching, all eyes on me. Missed a hole in one by 2 inches right there. Good start to the weekend, and then had a little bit of pool time later that afternoon. Hung around today, got some stuff done around the house. What a good weekend. Just knowing that Hurley was not going to announce until Monday. So thank you so much, Coach. And we're going to talk about you tonight. And you know what else? We're going to talk about those coach interviews that Mike alluded to earlier, that summer road trip series. We weren't going to get into this one without me bringing up the road trip. Most recently, stopping down there in Tampa at USF, of course, South Florida, head coach Amir Abdur-Rahim joined the Broskies the other day. What a great conversation with Coach Abdur-Rahim. But he's not the only one. Tim Miles out in San Jose State. Herb Sendek of Santa Clara and Jeff Capel over at Pitt all have joined One and Done this offseason. So make sure you get over there to YouTube and check out that playlist of interviews. But we're here today to talk Dan Hurley and the portal. And that's it. Happy to do it. Happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, man. I mean, if I ever get on a golf course, I'm shanking hole one without
17 people watching.
Yeah,
hey, no, 100%. Dude. Let me tell you. That was electric. It was the app. It was buzzing. That was the atmosphere. Was absolutely. It was palpable.
Glad you didn't get arrested.
Yeah.
It was palpable. Not that time.
High fives all around. And you know who else is giving a high five? Or we're giving high fives out to. He's never too far. He's pushing the buttons for us tonight. Is Eric the Blue. Make sure you follow him on X at Fantasy Nav. And while you're out there, make sure you go out there, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell. We got that summer road trip series coming almost every week. We got a new coach every week coming in. Plenty to see. And right now in the comments, get in those comments. Let us know. First time, long time. Shoot up those fire emojis. whatever you got. But I did want to put a poll out there because one of the top transfers in our transfer big board is still out there. Coleman Hawkins. These are number 5 guys. We wanted to put a poll up and see where you guys think he will end up. We have him either at SMU, LSU, or Kansas State.
Kansas State, yeah.
What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Jump in there. And while you guys wait for that, let's just jump right in to those headlines. Jay alluded to it. UConn coach Dan Hurley is still deciding on this Laker job. I mean, it's reported that the offer is around 8 years, $100 million.
Like this.
$100 million. I mean, he's always stated he wanted to go to the NBA. I mean, he's supposed to make the decision. We were hoping today or this weekend, but it sounds like it's going to be Monday. Mike, is he staying or is he going, man?
That's been the question all weekend. I think he goes. I really do. To me, if I'm in his shoes, right, which I'm not, but I would love to have the decision to take $100 million. That'd be pretty sweet. One, that money is crazy. 2, like, what does he need to accomplish on the college level? Back-to-back national titles. I mean, the 3 is cool, but I mean, we talk about the lore of back-to-back and how hard that is. I think it's one of the hardest things to do in all of sports, right? Like right up there with Jay's hole-in-one that he almost nailed the other day. But winning back-to-back, 362 teams, going back-to-back in a tournament where you have to win 6 games, like, that's crazy. So I don't really know what he has to do on the collegiate level. If you want to go, it feels like, I know he says he wants to mature a little bit more and things are going to be a little bit different, right? You can't quite coach professionals the way that he kind of yells and screams and goes crazy on the sidelines, even with referees and stuff like that. Like, it's just an entirely different league, obviously. So for me, Jay, like, I don't know, man. I feel like that's just too big of a number. I feel like he's ready. I just don't know what else he has to accomplish. And then the whole NIL situation too. I don't feel like he's want to deal with that because there's no Big East football. Like, it's just a whole other separate situation. So what are your thoughts, Jay, on this entire deal?
I think the timing really couldn't be much better. Like, his stock will never be higher. A job of this caliber, I mean, the Knicks job is going to open up eventually, right? Like, and do you just wait for the Knicks job to open up? Like, that's a legit conversation I think that you can have. But here's the deal. Dan Hurley will win at any level of basketball that he decides to coach. I don't want to put the Brad Stevens sort of like, because obviously Brad Stevens, and he's about to win a championship here as a front office with Boston, right?
Yeah. Just fleecing people on those deals for Porzingis and Holiday.
Exactly right. And you think about Hurley and the type of mind that he has, the type of people, the type of way that he draws people to him. Yeah, he'll have to coach the professionals differently, sure. But he understands that he's not going to think he's bigger than the game. Like, this is obviously, there was a lot of the conversation around him and his wife. It's very clear that they're a partnership, and like his wife going out to meet Jeannie Buss. All of these things sort of coming into place, it makes sense for him to take this job like right now. You can't tell me that. I've been hearing some talking heads say like that the Lakers job isn't that great of a job. It's look at it like, did Darvin Ham think that it was a great job when he took it? Of course, and look what happened there. And it's like, well, first of all, what is Darvin Ham? Well, Austin Toro's legend, Darvin Ham. Like, as a coach, for his first real like head coaching experience, almost at any level, to be at the Lakers is ridiculous. Like, yeah, what's the comparison? Like, it's tough to even consider. It's not the same. Dan Hurley and Darvin Ham are not. If I want to win a slam dunk contest, I'll call Darvin Ham. If I want to win basketball games at any level, I call Dan Hurley. Like, it just makes way too much sense for this to happen. I'm excited for him to announce tomorrow that he's going. And oh yeah, you get to coach this guy.
He's pretty good.
Okay,
He's
I
pretty
heard
good at
he's
basketball.
okay. And
and you get to his son too. That's pretty cool.
Yes, that's true. The only thing that I'm worried about is like Anthony Davis's knees exploding after like a week of Dan Hurley practices. We'll see how it goes, but it's happening, guys. I would put the odds very high on Dan Hurley announcing that he's going to Los Angeles.
I think the other thing too is like this roster at UConn, like to me, this is the most challenging roster he's going to have. Like there's no, I mean, you lost Klingon, Newton, Andre Jackson. You had those, like all these guys like Cam Spencer, the kid from that's at New Orleans right now, Jordan Hawkins. Like I look at this roster and it's pretty good. It's, top 3 in the Big East. But to me, it's like last year we were like, okay, these guys are head and shoulders better than, it was Purdue and UConn, right? And they ended up meeting in the national championship game. I don't see that with this particular roster that UConn has. So I think that could be potentially another decision. I don't know. Alex Caravan as like your number 2, or that just sounds kind of weird. I don't know, because I've never seen Alex Caravan take anybody off the dribble or post someone up, or so to me it's just kind of random to see a roster that features Terrace Reed, Aiden Mahaney, like that. There's a little bit of a step down in talent, at least I think in my eyes at UConn, even though the odds would suggest that they have a pretty good shot at winning it again. I just don't see it roster-wise. So that could be another decision that factors in. But tough choice, man, because this is a tough time of year to make this type of decision.
But do you think it matters do you think it makes a difference either way if you have the best college basketball roster in the country, if the Lakers call you and want to give you $100 million? Like I think
it makes it easy, slightly easier to come back.
Yeah, but again, the Lakers are giving you $100 million. What?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking $1 million anywhere, so I'll go wherever.
Yeah. I'll take $20. Let's go.
Well, all right. I mean, come on, Nate. You're better. You're worth more than that, sir. Okay.
Well, I got 2 things here. First, graphics department. This picture. I love this picture. I don't know where I'm going. That's great. But second thing is, him and his family are from the Upper East Coast, and they're super happy there. They like being around all their other family, and a move across the country could be a hard sell, right? I mean, but that is, like you guys are saying, that is a lot of money to turn down. So we will see, hopefully tomorrow, what good old Dan Hurley decides. You guys are calling your shot, saying he's going. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to say he stays.
Oh, contrarian play.
Yep, contrarian. That is my life.
Well, you got to fill in for Eric somehow, Mr. Contrarian. He's probably pushing the button, so somebody's got to be the contrarian here, I guess.
Exactly. Well, let us know in the comments, guys. Let us know what you think, what Dan Hurley is going to decide. Let's go ahead and move on to our next headline here. Big time forward Jamir Watkins decides to return to Florida State. This is huge, huge news for Florida State coach Leonard Hamilton. Watkins was a top 40-ish type transfer in the country for us before his withdrawal. Jay, what kind of player is Jamir Watkins?
I think the easiest way to describe him is just he's smooth and versatile. He's just easy on the eyes to like. He can do so much. And that's the thing about Watkins' game is like he's the type of player that opposing coaches hate to game plan for. And, you go against tough players every night in college basketball. But players like Watkins that can play the 2, the 3, or the 4 and can guard the 2, the 3, or the 4 and they get it done on the offensive end too. Not just guard, but guard really well. Like Watkins is one of the best two-way players in the country. He creates mismatches, 6'7", 210. Like, again, Florida State needed this. This was the the last second heave. Who was it? Who was it for Boston? Pritchard hitting it from half court.
Half court.
Banking it in, and that's what you got to feel like Coach Hamilton hit here, that bank shot at the end with the buzzer here, Mike, to get Watkins.
Yeah, I mean, so the bank shot, but this would be assuming you're probably down 15-20 going into the half. I hate to say that, but honestly, like, it feels good going into, but we're not in halftime. This is like hitting a bank shot going into the fourth quarter down 15-20. So here's the deal. Like, we'll talk about this Florida State roster here for a second. I don't know how he doesn't play basically the entire game. Like, he's the only guy on the roster that we know that can really produce on this level. They had a couple other guys that can come back, Chandler Jackson, Taylor Bull Bowen. They got a little bit of action last year off the bench, but a bunch of transfers, a bunch of guys moving on. So the newcomers are going to play a huge role for the Seminoles team. Two of the best ones they have coming in, Boston Holt from South Dakota. He's a guard. And then forward Jerry Dane coming up from Hampton. Yeah, they both averaged, right at double figures last year. Their transition from that mid-major rank up to the ACC is obviously going to be critical, I think, especially for Holt. We have him projected as a starter right now. Malik Ewan's coming over from Ole Miss. He's really the only 5-man on the projected roster. So they need some more size on this squad. The freshman class, it looks like it's going to be busy. There's 3 guys coming in. 4-star guard Daquan Davis. He has the clear path to a big role early. He's a guy that can attack the rim, work the mid-range game. He's got great court vision as well. So we'll see how his game transitions from the high school ranks to the ACC. So those are the huge questions, right? Like, you don't have, these big time transfers coming in. You don't have this Power 5 experience transfers coming in outside of, Malik Ewan coming in from Ole Miss where he, barely got on the court. So we're late in the transfer portal season. I would assume they're trying to maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat somewhere, or at least banking on development this offseason, because this roster, they either need to add a few pieces or get that development piece perfect this offseason if they're going to be able to contend in the ACC. So right now, having Daquan Davis as a starter alongside Holt, also Dang starting, with Watkins obviously coming back and taking 35% of the shots while he's on the court, and probably a 30 to 35% usage rate, and then Ewan starting at the center because there's just not a lot of size. So we'll see. Leonard Hamilton, it's been a great coach in the ACC for a long time, but this is this roster. It's in need of either some of that development this offseason, or at least another piece or two to get this thing really jump started.
Yeah, they may need another piece, but getting Watkins back is crucial for the Seminoles to be competitive in this expanded ACC for sure. We got 3 votes, all K-State, on the poll that we put out there. If you're just joining us, get in that poll. Where do you think Coleman Hawkins is going to end up? K-State, SMU, LSU, or other? Or just hop in the comments. Send up those fire emojis. Send up a basketball emoji. Just say hi. Just say hi. Where you at? Let us know how you're doing today. How was your weekend? Doesn't even have to be about basketball. How you doing?
Did anybody come closer than me to hitting a hole-in-one this weekend? Let me know. I would love to hear about it. It was electric. It was electric out there at Butler pitching putt.
Picks where it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. I'll believe it when I see it. Let's go ahead and move on to our next headline here. Wuga Poplar decides to head home and play for Villanova. One of the top remaining targets on our transfer big board. This is huge for the Wildcats program. Jay, give us a rundown on Poplar.
It's pretty straightforward here. He's a bucket getter. He is a walking bucket, as a matter of fact. And he is the best pure scorer that is left in the transfer portal. Doesn't hurt here. Guess what, guys? I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. That's right. Philly native playing for Villanova, and he can get you home. He can get you those buckets at every level. All 3 levels can score. And, of course, played in the Final Four a few years ago. So find that sort of experience just anywhere, especially this late in the portal season. And Wuga is giving Nova a big-time boost here. Just like Florida State, Mike, Nova really needed a jolt here late, and they got it in our guy Wuga.
Yeah, to stick with our Pritchard half-court shot, I'll say we're at halftime here. Nova's probably down 10 after he hits that shot, right? The biggest news was a couple of weeks ago when they got Eric Dixon back, who is one of the best bigs in the Big East. So now you have a dynamic duo, dare I say. You have Wuga Poplar and Eric Dixon. So that in itself, right, a little two-man game right there, is at least making them competitive. So, I think the thing with Poplar, right, coming over from Miami, he's definitely a bucket, but there were a lot of guards, right, at Miami the last couple of years. You had Long, Pack, and then obviously usage. You had O'Meara, Matt Cleveland was there. So now he's going to have a primary role. So not only does he get to go home, but he is going to get major usage along with Eric Dixon. So those two guys are going to get all the shots they want. For me, like it's kind of interesting when you look at this roster. Like this roster, we talked about Max Shulga. They missed out on him. He was committed and then goes back to VCU. Outside of these two guys, right? It's kind of a case of what's really going to happen. How can they make that push to get to the top, top 5 of the Big East here? Obviously for Dixon, I think him moving back to a more natural 4 spot is definitely going to help him out. You have Enoch Boyakai, who's coming over from Fresno State, really good shot blocking center, good rebounder. So have him starting here. We put Dixon, slide him down to the 4 where he can kind of take advantage of some mismatches there. And then the backcourt, Jamir Brick is coming in from LaSalle. Tyler Perkins, spectacular freshman year at Penn, but it is Penn. He's obviously stepping up in competition. And Jordan Longino was kind of hurt last year, but he had some upside. So one of those 3 is definitely going to have to step up. Like Longino's been in the program for a while now. Perkins probably has the most upside. Brickus has the most experience. He's got 4 years of playing experience in the A-10. They also have a couple of spots open, so we'll see. Kind of like Florida State, can they make one more splash? We're going to talk about where are they now. And when you start seeing the rankings on the where are they now versus where they were a month ago when we were doing them, the numbers have definitely changed a lot. We're into the triple digits and deep into them. So we'll see what they can do. And there's always surprises, right? Like just because you're not in the top 200, there's 2,000 guys in the transfer portal. Somebody that can be rated 895th could end up being a top 100 guy. It happens every single year, multiple times. But we'll see. Like Villanova absolutely needed Poplar for sure.
Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits. All right, it's enough.
Oh man, I knew it was coming when I said, oh yeah, he's going home. I knew the song was coming. But Villanova, now that all of a sudden they got a couple studs, right? I mean, the biggest question here is can Coach Neptune get this program back to the top half of the league? Like you said, they need a couple more pieces. Let's see if Coach can do that. Make sure you get in those comments. We still haven't had any comments. It's kind of off for us. Get in those comments, like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell.
Do it.
You know exactly when we're coming on. Yeah, we're a little late this evening. We're all watching the
don't make
game,
excuses. So. They're watching. They're watching. They're just not leaving any comments in the live chat. Don't make excuses for them.
Good deal. Well, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we will go ahead and move on. Bing. All right. Let's move on to the next one here. Injury bug bites Kansas this offseason, but a replacement is already on the way here. I mean, they had that injury bug during the beginning of the tournament, and now they get hit with the announcement of sophomore guard Elmarko Jackson missing the year after tearing his patellar tendon. Bill Self quickly responded by landing Mississippi State guard Shaquille Moore. What do we think of this pickup, guys? Jay, who is Shaquille Moore? Let us know who he is.
Well, first of all, shout out Elmarko Jackson. Like the patellar tendon, obviously that's something that's going to put him out, but that's something that can regenerate itself, and often an injury that you can come back from full speed ahead, no worries. So shout out to Elmarko Jackson for sure. But when there is darkness, there is light, and the light has now become Shaquille Moore for Kansas. So we talked about how Bill Self said he'd been checked out for about a month at the end of the season, which it was very refreshing to hear a coach come out and just say that sort of a thing. He knew that that team was not poised to make a deep run. And one of the issues was depth. They didn't have the depth last year to be a force. That's, my friends, my broskies and broskets in basketball. It's not going to be an issue for Kansas this year. So Moore brings 4 years of experience between NC State and Mississippi State. And yeah, that Mississippi State team that made the tournament last year, he started 22 games for the Bulldogs. His shooting has improved every year. He's been in the game. And 6'1", 190, but plays defense a lot bigger than that. A solid defender for his size, to say the least. I like this pickup as a guy like that can give you something as definitely a rotation piece. He's going to be a part of that depth for Coach Self and for Kansas. So, again, you never like to see somebody go down in like Jackson, but Mike, next guy up, right? It's not going to happen again the same way. You never see Coach Self have years like that back to back.
No, and you're right, man. The depth is definitely going to be there this year. The funny thing is, like, Indiana and Kansas, two teams that really struck gold in the portal, but we haven't really talked about them because they struck gold so early that it feels like it happened last year. Like, all the headlines and everything, all of that just kind of happened. And then, they're pretty much done. But Moore, he's going to come in. He's going to give them that depth piece. So you have Harris, DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson are all back. So that's a pretty good start. So Harris is clearly going to be your point guard. Dickinson's clearly going to be your starting center. But then you bring in Mayo, Storr, and Griffin, who are, three of the best reinforcements that you could have hoped for as a Kansas fan to come in. Those three guys, I think, are going to battle for two of the spots. There's a Hunter Dickinson card right there. And is that the Michigan jersey too? Let's go. Personally, for me, like looking at this roster, I like KJ Adams to come off the bench as like a backup five or like an energy guy. He just kind of hurts your offense. Last year they tried to play KJ Adams and DeJuan Harris out there, and there was just Hunter Dickinson would still get his, but it was just tough for anybody else to get theirs because they're not really shooters. So, kind of one of those things where KJ's not going to space the floor, DeJuan Harris isn't going to space the floor. Now you're bringing in Rylan Griffin. You're bringing in Zeke Mayo and AJ Storr. All these guys can get buckets. Mayo and Griffin can really shoot it. Storr is more of your slasher. He can shoot from the outside as well. And then, you got some talent coming in. Obviously, a freshman, Flory Badunga, 5-star. We'll see, what he can give them. I could probably give him some defense behind Hunter Dickinson, which would be really nice. They didn't really have that last year. So, like you mentioned, Jay, like depth is not going to be an issue. They have so many ways they can play this. Like, will Self decide to go with Rylan Griffin at the 4 like Bama did and play really small and have Dickinson at the 5? That offense would be crazy. But then you're going to suffer defensively because Hunter Dickinson is not the best defender in the world. But offensively, that would be absolutely explosive. Or do you bring a Griffin off the bench or a Mayo off the bench? And then all of a sudden you get a little bit more defense in there, maybe starting, someone like a KJ Adams. So, I mean, this was the problem they didn't have last year. It was basically the 5 guys. They hoped to play all 40 minutes, the starters. And, obviously McCullough went down and Dickinson got hurt towards the end of the year. So I like this roster, man. Tough for Jackson, right? But he'll bounce back. So looking forward to see what Kansas looks like this year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely won't be an issue, as you guys said. I mean, hopefully we won't have Bill Self asleep at the wheel a month away from March. So in the month of February, hopefully he's not falling asleep there like he had said. Quick update on the poll here. We have 5 votes in, 4 for Kansas State, 1 for other. Whoever put other, who do you think it is? Who do you think it could be? Is it Arizona State? No?
Can we give him a Lamborghini?
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what the other is, if that was you.
Hey, when you talked about a coach being asleep at the wheel, I thought I didn't think we were talking about Jim Boeheim tonight, but that's different. That's a different. We are about to talk about Syracuse,
Unhinged.
We are about to talk about Syracuse, so that's good.
Exactly. Well, speaking of Syracuse, they nabbed another piece for their backcourt. They have one of the best backcourts returning in the country with Judah Mintz and JJ Starling. Now they add Georgia State guard Lucas Taylor to the mix. What can Taylor give them in this backcourt, Jay?
Well, it's scoring and outside shooting that was lacking in that backcourt last year. Taylor shot 34% from three. Obviously, the Heinrich line, if you're familiar with one and done, is 35%. I would like Taylor to improve on that a little bit, but I can deal with 34%, especially when everybody else on this team shot below that last year. Judah Mintz, 28%. Starling, 33%. Copeland, 25%. No, thank you. No, thank you. But Taylor at 34 all of a sudden smells like roses.
That's like 40% when after those numbers.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like that math be mathing there. But I mean, really, doesn't this just feel like a replacement for Copeland? Like it kind of feels that way to me. And now that he's not going to be asked like Georgia State, like he was that guy. 30 minutes a game, 14 and a half points. Like he was that guy. He's not going to have to carry all of that load, more of a secondary role here. And it's probably going to allow him to be more efficient with the touches that he sees. Yeah. So getting better looks, I feel. So, I mean, leading Georgia State in usage to this role now, can he adjust to that? I think he can. And, Mike, this Syracuse roster is starting to shape up to something very intriguing in a tough ACC.
Yeah, and another team that we've barely talked about this offseason, and that typically happens in an offseason where 2,000 players are moving, and you happen to retain some of your better players, especially Judah Mintz, right? Like, should be first team all ACC. Well, I mean, the ACC's got 18 teams now, and if they pick 5, like, it's going to be tough. But
there's going to be 20 people on their first team next year, and you know
it. Absolutely, man. Why not? At this point, they just pick one representative from each team.
Make it an all-star game. Like, really, though, Mike? Like, what a great idea. That's you. I know you're saying that tongue-in-cheek, but why can't you? Why can't you just have an all-star representative from each program?
There you go.
That would be what's a great idea. And then you have 2 wild cards because there's going to be people. You have 2 wild cards there. What a great idea! Let's submit that to the conference.
Let's submit it, man. Yeah. But hey, you were just mentioning Copeland a second ago. Like, I loved him, but the fit with the offense, like, they needed shooting. Their shooting came from their bigs, right? Like, you had Chris Bell, shooting threes. You had Justin Taylor, who's moved on, shooting threes, and you kind of want some production from your backcourt, especially if these guys are trying to get into the lane and get to the foul line. That's something that Mintz is obviously really, really good at. But, obviously he's a star. You get JJ Starling back another year, right? He's a former 5-star going into his junior year now, second year in the system. These guys going into their second year in systems, like we talked to Coach the other day, and, the talk was like, hey, when you get another guy in your system for the second year, like, things start to slow down for him. So I feel like that's kind of a thing that gets looked over a lot. I know I'm probably mentioning it a lot, but I just think it's so important. You go from, what is it, Jay? You go from, like, instead of thinking, you go to just straight, it's just a reaction, right? Like, it's so huge. So, some guys that are still on the roster, right? Chris Bell, he's a floor stretcher at the 4. I don't really like him there. I think he's more of a 3 guy because he hurts you defensively there. Jair Davis coming over from Delaware, he's a pretty good player. Eddie Lampkin, clearly the starting 5 coming over from Colorado. We'll see McLeod as a backup 5 probably for defense. So I like this roster. Because kid Donnie Freeman, he's a 5-star, top 20 consensus player. I think he's probably going to start at the 4. Last time Syracuse had a starting 4-man that was a 5-star freshman. That worked out pretty well. Not saying Donnie Freeman is Carmelo Anthony. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot more help for Mintz at multiple positions, I feel like, and a lot more ways to kind of move the pieces around for sure. And it's Coach Abdur-Rahim that we were talking to. It's a phenomenal interview. Go back and check that out from South Florida, just talking about how great it is to coach guys, in the program that he's had for sure. So I feel like Syracuse is going to get a little bit of a boost from that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't talked a whole lot about Syracuse, and it feels like they're just like the forgotten team this season, but they have all that talent, especially with Mintz coming back, right?
Yeah,
so
he's pretty
excited to see what the season has in store. Thanks for being here with us, guys. Hit those like and subscribe buttons, hit that notification bell. As Mike said, we are doing coach interviews. Coach Abdur Rahim was amazing. Go check it out. A lot of other coaching interviews on the way up. We are at 1093 subs right now. 7 more gets us to that next level, 1100. Who wants to be in these final 7? Get in there. Hit that notification bell and subscribe button. Let's go ahead. We're going to jump to the future here, to the 2025. He's a top center of 2025, Mustafa Themm. He's going to reclassify and join the 2024 signing class.
The Terminator.
24/7 had him he listed as the number 1 center in the 2025 class. He will start his career early at UCF under head coach Johnny Dawkins. Significant move for the youngster. Jay, your thoughts?
Yeah, you talked about jumping into the future, and Themm is jumping from the future to the past, reclassifying in the 2024 class. And you know what, guys? He's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that. He's actually 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan. Yes, please. I'll take a little bit of that. And so will Coach Dawkins, obviously. The Senegal national Themm is the defensive upside is off the charts. You know that rocket that I was talking about a little bit ago when we were talking about how many subs we have? That's the upside that Themm's defense has. That rocket straight to the moon really stands out as a shot blocker, which makes sense, right? But he's not just going to clog the paint up. He's got footwork too. I'm not saying he's got the Olajuwon,
the dream shake.
I'm not saying that. Let's not do that quite yet. But we have seen him use his footwork, switch out on guards. Like, it's doable. It's there. It's something to be very, very excited about if you're Johnny Dawkins. And, Mike, what do you think? 10 to 12 feet, he's probably comfortable with popping out a little bit, but probably more comfortable in the DeAndre Jordan role, but who wouldn't be,
Yeah, I mean, if I'm 7'1", man, just throw me up some lobs, man. Just make some easy payday there. But yeah, interesting prospect, right? It's always interesting, man. Like the reclassification of these guys, right? They come in a year earlier. We've seen some mixed results. UCF in general, like, they could really use him. The 5 spot is a position that a little left a little to be desired, but now you have an option here. I don't know that he's going to go out and be able to play, 30, 35 minutes for you, but can he give you 20 really good minutes, especially defensively? I think he can. UCF, interesting, in the Big 12 here, they were okay last year. Obviously Big 12, a tough conference, but now they're getting both their top guards back and their 2 leading scorers. So Jalen Sellers and Darius Johnson are back. Both guys need to be a little more efficient than what they were last year. If they're going to take that many shots, they're going to need to make a few more in order for them to start winning a few more games. Interesting that they're bringing over Jordan Ivy Curry, coming over from UTSA. He was the former Virginia Tech commit, decided to re-jump into the portal and heads over to UCF. So the backcourt, definitely interesting. They have a wild card in Mikey Williams, who we talked about last show. Was thought to be one of the best high school players in the country, got into some trouble, prior to going to Memphis for his freshman year, had to jump back into the portal. We don't know what he's going to look like. And then, they got Keyshawn Hall over from George Mason. I think he's the X factor. Like, he's super talented. Some questions about, keeping the head on straight, but how he handles the jump from the A-10 to the Big 12 is huge. And I could see UCF playing smaller with a guy like Themm, especially just kind of looking at this roster. I also like Benny Williams coming over from the aforementioned Syracuse Orangeman. He should have a decent role here as a 4-man for this squad. But Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this Big 12 is absolutely loaded. So you definitely need reinforcements, and why not take a kid with this type of upside?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, UCF has the talent, right? We just got to figure out how it's all going to fit together. How's it all going to mesh, and how's it all going to go
For sure, calling for a huddle.
huddle. Right on. Good stuff there. Now, let's go ahead and move on to one of my favorite things here. So, one and done, we are all college basketball, not just the Power Six, not just the big names. We're going to talk mid-major programs here. We're going to show some love. Tonight, we are thrilled to bring you Mike's Mid-Major Minute.
That beat gets me every time. Yes, wanted to spotlight a couple of mid-major transfer classes, not just players. Typically, we do mid-major transfers, or the down transfer, or the kid going from the mid-major up to a Power 5 or 6 program. So, I want to spotlight a couple of classes here. The Akron Zips. Akron been a very, very solid program. They have a 5-man transfer class coming in. 4 of them happen to be coming down from the Power 5 level here. West Virginia duo Seth Wilson and Josiah Harris, who played a role in West Virginia's season last year. They're both coming down from Morgantown. Big man James Okonkwo, he used to play at West Virginia. He transferred to North Carolina last year. Some untapped potential there. Feels like he can really do some big things, filling in for Enrique Freeman, who was obviously a stud for them. Bowen Hardman is the shooting guard. He's also coming out from the Power 5 ranking. Ohio State, where he didn't get much of an opportunity, but, kind of his profile, a really good shooter. And Isaiah Gray, kind of the lost guy here, coming over from Cornell. He's a guard, a starter the last 2 years for Cornell. He averaged nearly double figures. So this 5-man class for Akron looking pretty salty. I think they will be able to do some things. And then Southern Illinois, a 5-man transfer class. The headliner is a kid that we spotlighted a few weeks ago. It is guard Ali Abdu-Diba. He put up a pretty big year for Abilene Christian, where he averaged 15.5 points. I think it's interesting that they're bringing over a couple of guys from Missouri State. You got Damian Mayo Jr. He's got 38 starts under his belt. His teammate Tyler Bay was actually a 4-star prospect last year. A little bit of an up and down freshman year, but he's following suit. He's going into his sophomore year, and I'm expecting a little bit more of a breakout this year for him. Davion Sykes is an undersized forward from Texas State, but he posted 11 and 7 in his sophomore year, so he'll be joining this transfer class. And then Drew Steffi comes over from Texas Tech. He's got some upside to him, just wasn't able to crack the rotation last year. So Southern Illinois with definitely an interesting 5-man transfer class to go along with Akron. I feel like these two are definitely going to make some noise in the mid-major ranks, and that'll do it for this edition of the Mid-Major Minute.
Love that beat. Good stuff as always, Mike. With these mid-majors, one of the biggest things that I love to see is when these guys from the high majors go down and then they fall out. It's like one of my favorite things. They make their case, say, I am a good player, right? It's almost kind of like a
look at me.
Yeah, look at me. And then maybe they go back up into the high majors and they're like, oh, yeah, I get my chance.
Times.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to see. But moving on to our next thing here, who isn't going to drop down to a mid-major? At least I don't think so. And I don't think anybody in here on our poll thinks so. We got 8 votes in. We have 12% for LSU, SMU 12%, other 12%, but mostly everybody at 62% at Kansas State. We're going to go into where are they going? First up, we're going to go to Jay with Coleman Hawkins. What do you got?
5 of the 8 people choosing Kansas State for our Cat Coleman Hawkins, the clear number 1 player left in the portal. And as we mentioned in the poll earlier, Kansas State, LSU, and SMU are the final 3 here for Hawkins. Visited the Little Apple this weekend. Kansas State, if you're not familiar, it's Manhattan. Just in case you didn't know, it's okay. It's okay. But, I mean, guys, this is somebody with his talent this late in the portal. It worries me a little bit in terms of who has the dollars left, but more importantly, who has the playing time left? Like, you make Coleman Hawkins. If you can get Coleman Hawkins onto your roster, like, you figure it out. But
yeah, but then you could upset some other guys that you.
But you probably just paid somebody $550,000 to come over, and then you're telling him now you come off the bench because we brought in Hawkins. Like, I don't know, man. Like, Kansas State, out of all of the ones, I guess, would have the best shot at the tourney without landing him. But if Kansas State does end up with Hawkins, which I do feel like that's where he's going to end 25. Up. Like, absolutely, Mike. Yeah, you took it right out of my mouth, man. This is a top 25 team, right, Mike?
I think so, man. Like, yeah, like that's, I mean, number 5 in the portal. Like, absolutely.
What do you got next? We got speaking of Kansas State, Mike, we got Arthur Kaluma there.
Yeah, Kaluma J, one of your guys. Can I say that? Is that Kaluma one of your guys? Yeah. Yeah, he's number 92 on our big board. This one kind of ties into Hawkins, though. Like, it feels like we're thinking he was going to go back to Kansas State, but obviously it wouldn't be a spot if Hawkins goes to Kansas State, and then we're hearing Memphis. So clearly this makes sense for Memphis. Like, they could really use a piece like him. They have room. David Jones decided to go off to the NBA here. So, yeah, Arthur Kaluma, I'm thinking Memphis right now, but we'll see what happens with Hawkins, because obviously if Kansas State misses out on Hawkins, then there's maybe be a chance for Kaluma to go back, but maybe not, because then maybe Kaluma's thinking like, what? Well, like, it's just a kind of a weird deal right now with K-State going on.
Yeah, definitely could see Kaluma in a Memphis jersey next year.
Totally.
That would be awesome to see, honestly. Jay, a few more left. Who you got? One of those names out there that I really like.
Oh, yeah, Supreme Cook, definitely a top flight name here, and a top flight player, but one whose transfer portal news has been relatively limited, quite a quiet time in the transfer portal for Supreme Cook. I thought an announcement to go back to Georgetown would have happened by now if like that was a choice, but I haven't heard even any like big time, I don't want to say leak, but you know what I mean. People will float these names out there. There hasn't even been any of that surrounding Cook, maybe except country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia being rumored. Mountain Mama, that's right. Take me home, country roads. If K-State misses on Hawkins, this could be another spot for Cook again. This is all the Coleman Hawkins domino will fall here. Time will tell. Nate, tell us about the guy one spot behind Supreme Cook on our transfer board.
Yeah, number 132, Arterio Morris, guard out of Kansas. You know, we don't really have a list for him, but he's super talented, right? Obviously, had some issues off the court that needed to get resolved. But rumor mill has it that Arizona State is potentially in the mix here. I mean, we should hear more soon.
Forks up.
Exciting if the Sun Devils could get in the mix here. Mike, last one before we get out of here. Who you got?
Yeah, it's Ken Evans, the guard from Jackson State. Florida Atlantic. This is one where we thought we were going to get official news already. It hasn't happened. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the DJ Wagner situation. This has been floating around for quite some time. DJ Wagner obviously ended up at Arkansas. We'll see if the same thing happens with Evans, but you start to worry when days go by without any word, especially when you hear the leaks that this is supposed to happen. So we'll keep an eye on this one, see if anybody else maybe pops in last minute. There could be a lot of that going on right now. But these are the 5 right now on the transfer big board. Man, you know, like there's Coleman Hawkins, I would say Arthur Kaluma, and then you start getting into, you know, guys that, you know, can obviously make an impact. But as far as the headliners, superstar, you know, Coleman Hawkins and right there, Arthur Kaluma kind of knocking on the door. So still some talent out there.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Mike, I got to ask you, Arterial Morris's baggage is heavy. Like, there's a lot that comes with that,
Yeah.
and he is a very,
Twice.
very talented player. What's that?
Yeah, twice. Like
2 times, right?
2
So,
times. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, a player is there a reason that he's still in the portal at this point, even though he has as much talent? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking, right? Like, it's, fool me once, fool me twice. Who's willing to dive in a third time? Yeah, and obviously the allegations that have happened the first, obviously as Texas fans, we know about the issues coming from high school into Texas, and then kind of the Terrence Shannon kind of deal at Kansas, just complete mess. But it's like those issues have been resolved. The question is, Jay, if you're a program, like, are you maybe if you're desperate to get, Supreme, like, talented, super, especially offensively, the guy's he's a guy that I feel like could literally jump in if he's been in shape and, like, doing his business, could legitimately score in a 30-minute role 15 to 16 points for you. Like,
but it's why it makes sense for an Arizona State to pick him up, because you got a coach that has control of the culture of the program and the expectations of what comes with it and playing for him. You've got Arizona State, coming into a tough conference that's going to need talent. So that's the sort of fit that I think makes, if you're going to be a Power 5 player, it wouldn't surprise me to not see him on a Power 5 roster just because nobody wants to take that shot. But at this point in the game, like, even if he is damaged goods, somebody will give him an opportunity. And then you just cut bait. Like, it's the talents and the upside at this point is worth it to just be able to say, hey, we gave it a go, it didn't work, cut him loose, rather than just giving the last scholarship to the water boy.
Yeah, well, and we've seen, clearly, right, Texas and Kansas, like, those are obviously no joke as far as being able to at the top of the Big 12, right? So we'll see, man. Arizona State, I know Nave C. Hustle thinking, like, hey, why not, right?
We need all the help we can get.
Is this it? Forks up? Is this it?
Forks up. Yep.
There we go.
Forks up. Well, on that note, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. Even if you're watching after the fact, we love you. Still hit those comments. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons, and hit that notification bell, because we've said it a million times. We got tons of content coming out. Me and Mike are working on some other big stuff, and we have all these coaching interviews coming up. Make sure you hit that notification bell. And we have 10 votes now in our to give a final number here. 60% K-State, 20% other, 10 and 10 for LSU and SMU. So hopefully we'll hear that news here pretty soon. So we will see. But the way you find out, stay tuned. And we'll talk about it. We'll be here talking about it with these two breadheads, these guys. And, of course, our guy, Eric the Blue, hitting those buttons. Fantasy Nav, you have MC Holland 34, Dr. William Cannon, all on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Make sure you get out there. Oh, reminder, next weekend, Father's Day. I know these two guys, fathers over here, wish you guys a happy Father's Day. If I don't see you guys before then, out there, don't forget your dad. And until next time, let's get this bread.
Chew!
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.